I'm thrilled to be your guide as we consider the Maine Humanities Council's big question, what if?
I am so glad we get this opportunity to create something that has never happened before in this moment.
I don't know about you, if you ever have an imagination session. I like to sometimes. But when we're imagining together with others, how is the experience different?
Mutual vulnerability fosters closeness.
So I want to use Afrofuturism as a frame to help us think about the power of what if, especially in the ways that we can imagine the future and reimagine the past, and in so doing, make meaning of the present.
Repeat after me. I am an expert. I bring everything I need to this moment. Mutual vulnerability fosters closeness.
Why do we care about the reproduction of a sea creature? Well, we like to eat these creatures, right? Although some of us like to admire them for their beauty and want to just see them grow and thrive. But in order to have more of them around, you have to be able to let them reproduce, and you have to help them reproduce by making sure the environment is in the right condition. And so there is a lot at stake, frankly, when we think about whether or not we let shellfish reproduce or can help them reproduce.
Questions, here we go. Where did the emotional labor live in your childhood home? Again, if you could wake up tomorrow having gained any quality or ability, what would it be? Excuse me, who is your favorite singer? How do you currently colonize?
And so this time, I'd like to introduce the question of what if there were no gender? Now, like many what if questions, this is one in which it's really helpful to ponder what we might gain, but also what we might lose if this what if were actually reality. It's best that we establish a working idea of gender. So notice, however, that this spectrum and others like it is still based on a binary conceptualization of gender.
You know, the history of Pineland and the history of institutions in Maine is the history of us. It's the history of how we work with people who live on the fringe. You know, and in many ways, the rise of institutions started in Bangor, Maine. And 25 years ago, you know, we recognized that we needed to close Pineland, but we still didn't look at and ask the what if question the way we could have. So when we're looking at the past of the what if everybody could be seeing their gift, what we're often seeing in the past is, what a shame.
Another little what if break. So what if you identified with a gender different from your current gender? What do you imagine would be different?
And so thinking on this deeper in terms of food systems and having more voices at the table, what if food wasn't about making a profit in terms of growing it and selling it, but what if creating food was more about life, sustaining life and culture, your culture, your community's culture, and sustaining the landscape and environment, and how that is woven into the production of food. And what if these foods not only kept us physically healthy, but spiritually and culturally healthy? And the value we put on it was more about love and care and being an integral part of our community, instead of how much money you could make from growing it. I think about this a lot because I work with shellfish and aquaculture, and I think a lot about cultures who have harvested or grown native species and their environments for long periods of time.
High, high, side, side, low, bend how you need to, low. And my favorite part is the twist. When you're twisting, it's about the spine. So you just want to turn and look to the back wall. Other side, twist and look at the back wall. And we double time. High, high, side, side, low, low, twist, twist.
Most folks with disabilities, I guess society doesn't really expect us to do some of the normal everyday life stuff that they all take for granted.
We're just like you. Only difference is we move different ways. We talk different ways. We walk different ways. But we're just like you.
Ironically, now is a time in which we're saying we need to keep people safe. What's the easiest way to do that? And under the exact same dialogue of social distancing, we are putting people with developmental disabilities and talking about putting them back in institutions, potentially. People just don't know that it's history repeating again. We have not built the infrastructure or the value system to take care of individuals with developmental disabilities where they can live and contribute the best they can.
What if there were no gender in the ways we now know it? Now, last time we talked a bit about complicating those boring old binaries that say that all humans are either female or male and either man or woman. These are basic and boring binaries, and we know that the human experience is much more complex than this. And so there are many human experiences of gender that show us that the lines between what it means to be cisgender and what it means to be transgender are, in many ways, pretty blurry. Imagine the full range of human experiences of gender as a sphere.
Questions, here we go. Where did the emotional labor live in your childhood home? Again, if you could wake up tomorrow having gained any quality or ability, what would it be? Excuse me, who is your favorite singer? How do you currently colonize? What is white culture parenting? What are white culture parenting tools? White culture parenting tools generally center on perfectionism, sense of urgency, defensiveness, accepting quantity over quality, worshiping the written word, paternalism, either or thinking, power hoarding, fear of conflict, idealism, progress is bigger or more, and a right to comfort.
And what if, as they developed and we identified strengths and weaknesses, what if we focused on those strengths and focused on those weaknesses and gave them what they needed to develop early, immediately? And what if we didn't blame the parents about that for whatever situation they came in? What if we didn't blame the parents for anything? And we just wrapped around a series of support so that that potential child, that potential in that child was able to come out. What if we viewed that as important as today's stock prices?
If we knew enough about all these aquaculture systems and all the research that we do, and we're able to ask all the questions and money wasn't an issue, could we achieve sustainable aquaculture food systems that last thousands of years without negatively impacting the environment? Could we do it with our local species instead of importing species that grow really fast or are really popular? Could we adapt long-term sustainable systems with what we have nearby and be happy with it, and have a culture that thrives around it.
You need to change things for the better. You need to change things to help other people. And you'd be a better person yourself. And then people would notice you and say, that's a good person right there. We never thought she could be.
What if we got to self-direct our services so that we could provide our gifts to everybody else? What if there was an automatic benefit to society of being alive? Every one of us, all the time.
I could be a self-advocate. I could speak up for myself, speak up for others, and kind of try to make changes.
Repeat after me. I commit to self-activism. My commitment is to start right where I am. The root of my community's activism starts with my daily self-activism. My individualism affects my communities.
When we're imagining together with others, how is the experience different?